All right. Hello, class. Welcome to week 4, Farm to Table, chugging along. Love it. Happy to see all your faces here tonight, and was happy to review a lot of your submissions already for week 3, the pan basting technique. So I've seen some fantastic work. Great knife cuts being displayed, which is really important. We always want to be working on those knife cuts, as well as getting that pan hot enough to have a proper sear. All right, we talked about that in our live session. Overcrowding pans, whether it's with your protein or your veg, when you overcrowd a pan, you're not going to get that direct contact with the flat surface of your pan and develop that sear. All right, you also then get this steaming action, right? Because the temp is dropping down really quickly, the water's releasing from multiple vegetables or protein sources, and you also don't get a great sear. So be conscious and aware of that, all right? Always, if you found that you were getting that, seeing that happen, some steaming action more than searing action, the next time you attempt this, reduce that quantity, all right? Maybe our pan size doesn't match our veg size. Adjust, right? Constantly be adjusting and adapting. That's the point. So before moving on, did anybody would anybody like to share any of their experiences with the pan basting technique? So I've seen some awesome work out there.
It's my favorite new technique to make steak.
Awesome.
I will say that the steak came out, it almost seemed like it cooked faster than making it in some other ways. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense.
Well, it does on some level, all right? It depends, on the thickness, okay, of your cut. Remember, you're continually cooking it as you're adding more heat. So normally if we were to just pan sear, right? Pan sear on one side, pan sear on the other. But what's happening is as you're pan searing on that second side, you're continuing to get heat penetrating and cooking from the top, moving down into those proteins. All right. You don't normally, if we were to just pan sear and then flip over, you don't have heat that's constantly getting poured back on top of that. All right. So it can speed up that cooking process.
That makes sense. It perfect medium rare, just exactly how I love my steak, and the veggies, and then I made rice pilaf, and there was none left.
Excellent. I love it. I'm happy to hear that. All right, I see Melinda's hand is up. Melinda, and I did get your message, and I'm going to be updating that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say I was a little trepid at first because I was afraid that it was going to make things, like especially the veg, that it was going to make it greasy or like too fatty or oily, and it just gives this delicious, phenomenal flavor. And on a side note, I'm sure everybody can agree with me here. I am worried that I may never be taken out to dinner again. Just saying.
It does get hard after a while, but that's okay. That's okay.
Listen, if your husband took you out to dinner because he wanted a fabulous steak, but now you're making one at home, you're not going out to dinner anymore.
You got to start messing some stuff up, Melinda. No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I did today. I made a pie and screwed it up, but it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, just keep some things in your back pocket. Keep those for yourself, and I'm just kidding. That's great. That's a good feedback as well. Thanks for sharing. Robert, see your hand up as well.
Yeah, this is more on the cost aspect. I bought a full pork loin for like $14, and I got more half-inch cut steaks that I cut myself of the pork than I would have in a full pack for $25.
Awesome. You basically took exactly what we discussed last week to heart. Remember fabrication. Remember what we were writing about? Checking out those videos. When you fabricate or break down in-house, you're going to reduce your costs. Remember that whole chicken versus the parts, right? And even if you can't, say you want to make a dish of I don't know, let's say you want to make chicken breast, right? You want to do chicken breast, and you're like, all right, well, I'm eventually going to, you know, have want to make chicken legs at some point, and maybe I need 4 breasts. Maybe you can get 2 chickens, you break them down, fabricate. Then what do? You break the rest of that meat off, right? Save your legs, drumsticks, wings, carcasses, and now you're making stock, and you've got identical cuts for the next, you know, maybe you want to make a nice braise with those thighs, or you're going to use those for week 10 and with confit when we're making chicken confit. All right. So keep thinking about that, and especially, you know, freezing, right? Freezing is another preservation method. We're going to keep talking about more preservation methods, but when you see something like that, hey, you know, Robert's saving money by buying a larger cut and doing some fabricating himself. When you see those options, take it. Look at this of a whole large fillet of a fish versus, you know, pre-portioned. Now, this isn't always going to be like that, but sometimes you will see deals that do work out and are cost effective. So nice job, Robert. Way to take that lesson to heart and utilize it. Yeah, we got one more hand up from Margarita, and then we're going to hop into week 4.
And you get to make it the size you want it.
Well, exactly, Robert. Customizable, right? That's the other part. 100%. How thick? How thin? What's your utilization? Great job, Robert. Margarita.
I just wanted to add to the smell of the butter and the color of that butter at the end. So I went ahead and I took advantage of that and made some cabbage with that and a pan sauce. And that pan sauce, oh my gosh, I reduced it to, it was just delicious. I love the technique.
Awesome. Awesome. Happy to hear that. Yeah, remember class, we talked about making pan sauce, utilizing that fat. What are those little bits and pieces that are left in the pan, bottom of the pan when you're going to make say that you were sauteing anything. And you add stock or white wine to deglaze. What are you pulling off?
Flavor.
Flavor, yeah.
Fond.
Fond. Did somebody say fond?
That was me.
Yes, fond. Not fat. Fat is flavor, but fond, right? When we're making that stock, that's where a lot of that flavor is hiding. It is a shame to lose that. Whether you're making a pan sauce, great, or saying, hey, you know what? You know, I'm gonna, you know, if you're at your house, making a quick veg out of that, right? Picking up those little bits and pieces, all right? Just like, when else have we seen that utilized? What other technique have you learned where you see that? Not basting. Searing, yeah, but searing is that initial thing where you're going to get some of that clay. What about making a stew or braising, right? Don't you sear that meat first, right? Got fat, you're searing your meat, you're getting color developed, you remove that meat, then you deglaze, or then you add your tomato paste and onion and then veg, right? Again, building layers of flavor. Constantly happening. Hold on one second. Sorry, I forgot about something. So that's how we want to, you know, always be thinking about these different layers of flavor. How do you get more flavor, right? More flavor, happier the customer is going to be, right? Happy you are going to be with your end result. All right. Good questions. Good topics. Like I said, a lot of I've seen some great work coming in. All about heat control, right? Now, some people have been overcooking, right? Getting a lot of dark color developed on those veg. Heat control, heat management, just like those croutons, right? You got to know that you're able to play with fire, all right? You want to turn it up and turn it down. Your pans might be different. Remember, every restaurant you walk into, every pan that you might cook with, every kitchen you walk into, is going to have different thicknesses of pans, different BTUs, right? Heat source control. You have to know how to adjust with that. It's not the same time every single time. Your product, what about your protein product? Maybe it's super cold. It's not, you haven't let it sit out on the, it hasn't even slowly started to warm up just a little bit after being out of the fridge for 10 minutes. Maybe you're pulling it straight from. What variables happen, right? You have to learn to adapt and play with the fire and control heat. All right, so when you see things getting too high, you smell it, you see it. Remember, you're in control. Another thing, some people were asking about the butter factor, right? So maybe you started off with oil or clarified butter, a nice high smoking point fat to get that sear. Once you've got that sear, you flip over, then you're adding that butter. When that butter starts to foam, you're in the good spot. Some people were worried about that. That's okay, that's good. But on that same note, you don't want to keep that cranking really high, right? A little brown butter is great, but once we start to get black, right, off flavors, keeping that control of the heat. All right. Let's see. Cool. Solid. Week 3, I'm looking forward to grading the rest of your work. I've seen some fantastic plates coming in and looking forward to seeing more. Some people have made pan sauces with wine, mustard, some great other veg components, other starches, just really nice looking plates and everything coming in. So this week, we are going to be talking about cover crops. Does anybody know or have any idea what might be considered a cover crop? Soybean from Melinda. Yeah. Legumes can be cover crops. What else? Any other ideas? Oats, yeah. We're making those this week. All right, so clover, basically some grains, legumes, okay? Melinda said, growing up, we alternated corn with soy to replenish the soil. Exactly, so cover crops, what do they do? Traditionally, when we're not looking at massive agricultural, big agricultural industrial farming, we're looking at smaller farming, right? What do you do to do this? You rotate your crops, all right? We started talking about this. If you do not rotate your crops, you're not gonna have a great yield. You're not gonna have the nutrition in the soil to keep producing fantastic end crops and harvests. Why? Because if I'm one type of vegetable and I'm in the ground and I'm pulling up the same nutrients year after year after year, eventually that soil becomes depleted, okay? So you need to alternate, putting different crops in. A cover crop lets the land heal for a little while. It says like, okay, I'm just gonna take a break and then come back, all right? So cover crops are great because they're super usable, right? And guess what else? What do we have in common with oats and legumes? Let's just use that because we're making granola out of oats and bean salad out of legumes. What do we think is, what do we have in common about those two? What state are they in? Are we using them predominantly raw? When we buy dry beans at the store, oats, what preservation technique has been applied to them so that we're using them and we're able to use them year round without refrigerating? Dehydration, drying, yes.
Need to rehydrate?
Yeah, dehydrated, dried, right? Beans are harvested and then dried. Oats, grains, harvested and then dried, put into storage. Now, what does that mean for, let's think about applying this to a restaurant setting. We know we talked about last week that prices of certain fruits and vegetables go up and down depending on the season, right? What do we think about a product like this that's been harvested and dried and then put in storage? What do we think about their prices? Boom, Roger said you can buy in bulk and save money. Yeah, that's for sure. Also, what is that price gonna go? What are we gonna see? Are we gonna see peaks and peaks and valleys? Or are we gonna see something consistent? Steady, exactly, right? So we've got a nice steady price. We don't need walk-in to store our beans or oats. So that means we have a pretty stable set price that we can more or less set. We know that that cost is going to be available year-round for the most part, right? That's great to have on your menu. Otherwise, we know we have fluctuations in prices, in commodities, in products. This one you won't. Okay, so disasters. I mean, obviously all of these things can impact produce no matter what, depending upon when does it hit harvest season. We'll talk about potatoes later and what happened to potatoes a couple years ago, okay? There was a huge shortage. So we know we go through a lot of potatoes here. We've got these great items that we know that we can use that are steady. And what else about this? So we've got the main component, the main base. We're making granola. We're using oats. We've got beans. We're making a bean salad. What do we think we can do to those each season? Adding seasonal fruits or vegetables, exactly. We've got that basic, land, right? That cover, all right? Then we start changing. So it's summer, and we got, late summer, and we've got blueberries that have just been dehydrated. Boom, we're throwing some blueberries in. Maybe we can also play with that and say, hey, let's bring back summer when it's the dead of winter and you want to utilize another dried fruit. Dried persimmons, different nuts, right? It doesn't have to stay the same all the time. Same with your bean salad. Maybe you mix up your herbs. Maybe you change your other vegetables. Maybe you change your vinaigrette profile. All of those can change depending on the season. You've got that main component that's staying the same, and then you change these other components to it, right? Again, once you learn the technique, then you start having fun with different flavors. Okay, dried cranberries, yeah, definitely. For this purpose, for granola, you want to use dried fruit. I'm going to pull up the recipe right now so we're all on the same page, and we'll talk about what potential options, substitutions you can make, and more specifically, hey, did anybody ever think, wait, what's the difference between oats? I've seen instant oats, I've seen old-fashioned rolled oats, steel-cut oats. Are there differences? What are they? All right, we're gonna dive into that as well. So, here we go. All right. All right, here is our recipe for granola. Now, one thing important to know, I'll have all your attention right here. We are not making granola bars. If we wanted to make granola bars, it would say honey granola bars. This is honey granola. What does anybody know? What do we think the difference between granola versus granola bars are? What's that difference?
Crumble.
Crumble, yeah, as opposed to being formed and pressed into a shape. So this is loose granola. We should see loose granola coming in your photos. All right, they should be small clusters, not packed down. Okay, so what do we need? We need rolled oats, brown sugar, ground cinnamon, golden raisins, almonds, some butter and honey. All right, now, I'm gonna tell you about substitutions that are possible. First and foremost, you know, if you don't have cinnamon, drop it out. You're gonna lose that cinnamon note, but if we're looking at cost factors, right? We want you to understand and learn the technique of making a basic granola, all right? So if you don't have cinnamon, you can take it out. You're allergic to cinnamon, you can take it out. Does it have a wonderful flavor profile? Heck yeah, it does, all right? Golden raisins. If you don't have golden raisins, you can use regular raisins. You can also use dried cranberries, raisins. You can use a different dried fruit that you have, okay? Totally okay with me. Or say you're tight on a budget, you don't have raisins, take them out. Almonds, here's another component. Slivered or chopped, right? Maybe you don't have almonds. Maybe you've got some pecans. Go for it, all right? Maybe you don't have either one of those. That's okay, omit it. Again, we want you to understand the principles of making a beautiful toasted granola. Walnuts, okay, yeah. And preferably you're gonna wanna use nuts that have not been toasted. All right, you want to use raw nuts in this because they're going to be getting cooked and baked for about 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, I see another question. Can I mix the raisins? Yeah, if you want to do a little combo, okay. Chocolate chips? No. Why am I saying no to chocolate chips? What happens when we put chocolate chips in the oven? They melt, exactly. Ow. But I like your idea. I mean, chocolate chip, who doesn't love a little chocolate chip in there? We don't want adding chocolate chips in this. We want to just do, yeah, you would have to be fully cooled before you're adding, and then it's not going to bind in the clusters. What else do we have here? So you all know now what you can and cannot submit, right? Substitute. You've got some free reign with your dried fruits and your nuts. Okay, now, here's the next thing. Let's talk about oats. I want to show you what the difference is going to be. You're going to get completely different end results if you don't use the right type of oats. Now, some of you might have issues locating rolled oats, and if that's the case, just note that in your narrative, but you're going to have a totally different end product, all right? And I'm going to show you why. So, here we go. Steel cut oats. Large, thick. They almost look like they're like little grains of rice that have been cut up, don't they? Scottish oats, similar to this, but a bit more powdery, right? But still larger chunks. Now, this is the winner. This is what we want. Old-fashioned rolled oats. As you can see, their shape is defined. As soon as we get into these other oats, which are quick cooking or instant oats, quick cooking and instant. What do we notice about those? What are you noticing? Compared to the old-fashioned to these two.
They're lighter.
Lighter. What else? What other observations? Let's use our thinking power about texture, size, consistency, shape that we're always talking about in the menu description. What else?
Broken.
Broken. Yep. Smaller pieces. So they're lighter. Smaller pieces.
Thinner.
Thinner. Yeah. Great.
Powdery even.
Excellent. Yes, you're totally right. So what is the difference, right? Those steel cut ones, right? Those are basically, those are cut from the whole oat growth. If you're thinking about what a grain of rice looks similar to, okay? They're like the little kernels, right? Little berries, wheat berries, if you've ever seen that. Those are whole wheat. Let me show you a visual of real wheat so you know. These would be wheat berries. Because you might see that and say, well, what's that? What are wheat berries? I want to make sure you all know. Product knowledge, right? This is huge. Wheat berries. Images. So, yeah, there we go. This is a good one. Oh, that's not the greatest. There, it's a little bit larger. See this, right? They look like kind of like really fat kernels of rice, right? Grains of rice. Okay, this is hard winter. So when we look at that steel cut oat, that's just a rough chop basically of these wheat berries. Taking those wheat berries, breaking them down. Makes the cooking process go a little bit faster. All right, Scottish oats, I need to do more research. I don't know specifically why they're so, I think they've just been processed a bit more, but I don't know full details, so I'm not going to say anything that I don't fully know. But steel cut oats are essentially this, right? Your whole wheat berries cracked and crushed, so it speeds up the cooking time. Now, when we look at going back into your old fashioned or versus your, so your old fashioned are steamed. So those are steamed and then they're flattened. That's what gets this, right? You can still see that center line. See how that's all, that's, you know, here you see that center line there, right? And then you pop in here and you see that center line on those oats. They're dried, rolled, and pressed. All right. So that means they're going to absorb liquid a lot quicker and they're going to cook quicker. That's why they're called instant or quick oats. So when you're making your granola, let me pull this up. When you're making your granola, let me pull up the recipe. You will see that they're good. That if you use one of those instant or quick cooking oats, you're going to get it. It's going to become a little bit stickier. It's not going to break up as easily. You're not going to have these clusters, but you can still totally execute it. If you cannot find rolled oats, you will be okay. It just does end up in a different product. Like if you've ever purchased whole granola from the store, you see they're like the big fat kernels, right? Like the rolled oats. They're not teeny little particles usually. Unless you see them in like a super mass produced cereal, right? Then you might see these little things. But generally when you get granola, which, what do you pay granola for like a small bag? Is that cheap or expensive? What do we think? I know I see Melinda saying that is not cheap, right? Not cheap, expensive, exactly. So do you know what type of power that gives you when you're taking this product? It's pretty cheap, right? Oats. And making that into a high cost end product. Now, why do we think that it ends up being more expensive? What are they adding to it that's expensive? Excuse me, I have to mute everybody. You guys make sure you're staying muted. Packaging, definitely. Nuts, yeah. Maybe your dried fruit, maybe vanilla. Okay, labor, marketing, all of those things. But what if you're making homemade granola and you want to put that on your menu? Now, it doesn't have to be just a parfait, right? Or yogurt with granola. What else can you use that granola for? It's one of my favorite things. Few things. Think about it in the dessert world. Crust as a crumble. Yep. What else? Cheesecake.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Who said it? Latasha. Yes, Latasha. That is exactly it. You put a delicious crunchy granola on top of ice cream. Seriously, you feel a little healthy eating that. You know, yeah, if there's such a thing, right? And it doesn't get soggy. Or is that a question, Margarita? It doesn't get soggy? Guess not. No, it does not. When we've got these nice hard clusters, it doesn't, because you've already taken this cooking process to it, which is mixing it with honey and butter. So let me pull up the recipe again so we're all on the same page and there's no confusion. Whoa, where are we? Are we there? Yeah, we're there. All right, cool. So preheat the oven to 325. In a bowl, combine the oats, sugar, cinnamon, and almonds, or whatever your things. What are those? Those are our dry ingredients. All right, we want to mix our dry ingredients together. Okay, then saucepan, low heat, melting that butter, and add the honey. Okay, then really simple. What are you going to do? You're going to pour that mixture right on top of your dry ingredients and stir to combine. Okay, then boom. Spread that granola on a baking sheet and bake until golden brown. Now, a few things to remember. You're going to want to take that out and stir it midway through. Okay, why? It's going to help break up clusters. And more importantly, what do we know about ovens? Sometimes they cook and bake a lot quicker than you think. All right, unless you have a thermometer. Hot spots as well. Yeah, if you don't have a thermometer in your oven, you might not know. Your oven might be higher or lower. Also, hot spots around the edges of anything tend to get browner quicker. So after 10 minutes, set a timer. 10 minutes. Pull it out. Give it a stir. Put it back in. Another 10 minutes. Check it out. All right. You're gonna end up with a better end result. You don't want to have this dark edge around the edge and then light color in the center. Mix it up, even baking. All right. If you have a silpat, which is basically a non-stick material that you can put on a baking sheet, some of my students in the past have used that on their granola. If your sheet pan has had a lot of love and seen a lot of action, sometimes, yeah, things can stick. All right. So put a little spray down there. If you know that you've got issues with sticking on your baking sheet, put that down there. I do not recommend necessarily putting foil down. You can, but then you better be sure to grease that up. All right. Because otherwise what's going to happen, you're pulling it off, the foil's going to stick to your granola. Inedible. Can't serve it. Total waste of time and money and labor. All right. So parchment, give it a go. Yeah. Some students have had success with that, but most likely you'll be fine. There's usually like 1, maybe 2 people who have an issue on a sheet tray. More likely than not, you're gonna be okay because you've got butter in there. That's not gonna allow it to, it's gonna help it prevent it from sticking. All right, now what's also important? Letting it cool down completely before you store it. Why? Steam. Yeah, you're gonna have this delicious crunchy granola and then ruin it. Let it cool completely, then go ahead and store it. Now, if you want to present this, I'm gonna pull up the requirements. Finished product, let's see it, all right? Wanna see that finished product, all right? You can serve it on top of yogurt. You can put it in a bowl. You can put it on top of ice cream if you want to have fun with it. Not required, but if you want to, please go ahead and do so. All right? So remember, no granola bars. That's not what we're looking for. Try to get rolled oats. You're going to get a better, crunchier end product. It's not going to be as little small clusters. All right? Any questions regarding granola? Cool, solid. I think you're gonna have fun. It's one of those items that you think, this is something I've always purchased, and now I know how to make it, and it's so much cheaper. And guess what? Customizable. You want some macadamia nuts and little pieces of coconut and dried pineapple for a tropical version? Yeah, have some fun, right? Maybe it's fall and you're thinking, you know what? I know how to make, I've got dried apple crisp, I've got some dried cherries, I'm gonna add cinnamon and, pumpkin seeds, pepitas, right? And it's gonna be green and red. And so you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Totally customizable, works for so many different applications, all right? Do you have to put fruit in it? No, that is optional if you do not have dried fruit on hand and you need to, make that, take that out, You can take that out. It just makes a generally more flavorful end product. But if you can't locate that or got some issues with dried fruit, take it out. All right. Cool. So let us hop into bean salad. I know it doesn't sound that exciting, but guess what? It's actually extremely refreshing and kind of a hit item. What do we know that's trending in restaurants now? Type of dieters, food preference eaters do we have that's flourishing? Keto, meh, yeah, sure.
Vegan.
Vegan or vegetarian, right? Vegetarian more so than anything. Plant-based, right? Guess what's a perfect, awesome option for protein for plant-based dieters? Beans. Low cost as well. Now, what do we think is more expensive? Are we buying canned or taking from dry and rehydrating and cooking? What's the cheaper option there?
Buying it and making it
Got
yourself.
it. Sorry, somebody said something.
I just said buying the separate ingredients and making it yourself is always cheaper. Or
Yeah,
in most cases cheaper.
Specifically though, dry ingredients. But yes, buying ingredients and making it yourself, yes. Production, right? Dry. So if you know that you're on a budget and you're gonna use beans and you like beans, you don't have beans that cans and you're sitting in your pantry right now, get those dry beans, soak them overnight, drain them, boil them, cook them, all right? You know, you all made beans in Cu101 or Cu122, I believe. So you know how to cook from dry beans, all right? And you know that, yes, thank you. I like that confirmation, LaShawna. Perfect. Yeah, so you know how to do this, right? And you also know, that you will save money on this because then you save that rest of the beans for later, okay? If you bought canned beans, that is okay. You can use canned beans. I'm just showing and giving ideas for how to reduce costs and practice those cooking skills, right? Beans aren't always the easiest. Who's messed up a pot of beans before? Yeah, no shame. If you haven't, you probably will someday. All right? Just kidding. But seriously, really easy, okay? When do we put salt in when we're making beans? You put salt in the water when you start cooking your beans?
At the end.
No. Exactly. You do not put salt in water when you're cooking beans. It's different than when you're making rice or pasta or other grains. Changes the cooking process, okay? There's some crazy studies that people have done with baking soda and other techniques to make sure that you have a nice tender end result, all right, for beans. I'll send out some links on that after class. So, beans. Now, we're making a bean salad. Again, remember how we did our beautiful blanched and peeled tomatoes before for gazpacho? It's coming at you again, except this time you can go ahead and concasse them. So, remember we said that if you took it one step farther and seeded them and small diced, you'd have concasse tomatoes. That's what you're making, all right? Peeled, seeded, and small dice, 5 ounces, not a lot. Be done in a jiffy, okay? Now, other substitutions. We've got chickpeas, red kidney beans, navy or white kidney beans. And again, canned and drained or cooked and drained. Either one is okay. You know, do what's best for you. Just think about the flavor profile and texture that you get versus canned versus homemade. Now, if you do not or cannot find all 3 of these different specific beans, or maybe you hate one of those, you're like, I just cannot stand kidney beans from growing up Throw in some black beans. I'm okay with that. So you do have some flexibility with the bean choice, all right? This blend is really nice. Chickpeas add a totally different texture to a bean salad than just using your standard, you know, black, white, pinto. But any of those would be okay. You can throw those in. Then again, we've got those concassé tomatoes, green and black olives. If you can only find one of them, just double up, all right? Pitted and sliced. Sometimes you might not have the you know, ability to get olives with the pit in them, and you just have to buy the canned one and then just slice them. That's okay as well. Red onion, brunoise, all right? We're gonna be looking for knife cuts, because guess what? Again, kind of like with the gazpacho where we were talking about knife cuts on your garnish, you're not cooking. So spend some time and focus on executing, all right? Brunoise on your red onion, small diced concassé on your tomatoes. All right, parsley can be chopped. I would go for, you know, minced personally. And then your mustard vinaigrette. All right, there is a recipe for this. I want to show something that's really important here. The recipe calls for 4 ounces. The recipe provided here has a little mistake. Can anybody catch it?
The quart is way too much for what's in.
Correct. This is not correct. This does not yield 1 quart. What does this yield? Look, that is going to yield about 4 ounces. We've got 1 ounces of wine vinegar and 3 ounces of salad oil. It's going to be about 4 ounces with a little bit of your mustard vinaigrette. All right. So that is a mistake right there. I just want to point that out so nobody gets confused thinking, what the heck? Am I making a quart of vinaigrette when you're not? Okay. Seriously. Now vinaigrettes. You all have made these before as well. What do we know about making vinaigrettes? Well, you're in culinary school. Better make it by hand. Guess why? You're making 4 ounces. 4 ounces is half a cup. That's nothing. All right. Practice your emulsion. What's the trick about making an emulsion and a proper vinaigrette? Because I'm going to be looking out for this. What's important about making a proper vinaigrette and emulsion?
Slow addition of oil.
Slowly.
I heard slowly. Everybody's saying slowly. Adding that oil slowly. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Drop by drop at first as you whisk, right? And then as that vinaigrette starts to hold on, it holds on to those oils, right? Because otherwise, it's going to separate before you make your salad dressing. And then you're not properly emulsified. And you know what? I can tell because I'll see a rim, a layer of oil on top of your vinaigrette. Okay? It needs to be properly emulsified. When we go to the grocery store and we walk in and we see vinaigrettes on the shelves, what do we see? We see that they've separated, right? Oil's on the top and the vinegar and the seasonings there. That happens after a vinaigrette has been sitting for a while, okay? But it should not happen within 45 minutes. It should not happen within 20 minutes. It should not happen within an hour. Why? Why shouldn't that happen? Proper technique. Yeah, proper technique is not being followed, all right? If that emulsion is breaking, you're not fully emulsifying your vinaigrette. It's 4 ounces again. That you should be able to whip this up really easily. Your arm's not even gonna get that tired. You're not making, you know, even 8 ounces or a half a quart. This is totally feasible, all right? You wanna make sure that you're properly emulsifying. What other ingredient is in that recipe that is an emulsifier? Here, I'll pull the recipe up again so everybody knows and can see it. What aids in emulsification in this recipe?
Mustard.
Mustard, yeah, mustard is an emulsifier. It's gonna help, it's gonna make it quicker. All right, it's not just vinegar and water. I mean, vinegar and oil, we know those two collide. The mustard is like the friend, bringing them all together. Like, come on, let's just hang out a little bit more. all right? It's just gonna help, just like a warm hug, all right? Keeping you hanging in there, all right? Dijon is definitely, if you've got Dijon, you're gonna have a really beautiful end result, all right? If you only have that bright yellow mustard, that's okay. It'll still help emulsify, but you're gonna get a really different flavor profile, okay? Dijon has different notes. Dijon mustard has different notes than your standard yellow mustard, but both do have emulsification properties and they will help bind that salad dressing and hold it together, okay? Let's see, what else? This is super, straightforward, this recipe. You're gonna make your vinaigrette, all right? You're gonna prep out all your ingredients for your salad, all right? And then you're gonna toss gently so you're not breaking it down. Now, one other thing, why am I saying, hey, I'm looking out for that brunoise? Why do we want brunoise onion in this salad?
Flavor consistency.
Flavor and consistency, making more palatable. Yeah, some people don't love onion. That's not me. I love onion, all right? But a lot of people don't want to crunch into a big hunk of onion. That is not desirable. You want these flavors to kind of be supporting actors, all right? They're in the background. They're giving that aroma, those notes, right? But they're not aggressive, all right? They're not making my nose shock and my eyes water. That's really not pleasant. You don't want to be serving something like that to somebody. All right. Let's see, what else did I want to know? Oh, yes, covering and refrigerating for 2 to 4 hours. Why is that part of the recipe as well? To set.
Melding flavors.
Melting flavors, having the flavors come together. They're gonna just kind of, instead of being distinct and independent flavors, when you let a salad or a potato salad or many other salads sit, their flavors start to join, right? You're not just getting the taste of onion or just the taste of tomato. It's a bit more harmonious, all right? That's what we're looking for, okay? One second. So that's what we're looking for, all right? Yeah, for those flavors to marry. And the onion will soften. Yeah. All of these are great observations, class. I love it. And then right before serving, add your chopped parsley. You're good to go. How do you, again, so let's hop into those photo requirements. Where are we? There we go. So, important things to note, that mustard vin, all right? We want to see you making this, just like you did, same requirements when you did that, whatever, 6-8 months ago. Time for a refresher course, right? This is just keeping those skills honed and tight, all right? With 1/3 of the oil added, 2/3 of your oil added, and then your finished emulsion show with the spoon, all right? You want to show that, make sure that it's fully emulsified. Your cold bean salad, again, super simple. We want to see those knife cuts. You're combining your tossed ingredients prior to dressing, and then of course mixed, chilled, and finished product. Okay, you do not have to plate this, but of course you can. You want to put those in some like romaine lettuce leaf cups. That's a fun presentation, right? You want to serve it with some rice, right? Because why am I suggesting rice? What do we know that rice and beans make up? A tostada, yeah, that would also work. When we combine rice and beans, we get a complete protein. Complete protein. Protein is made up of amino acids, okay? When we talk about regular old, animal protein, that's one thing. But rice and beans do form a complete protein. So if you want to make a nice meal and have something complete, go ahead and give it to yourself, right? Throw some tostadas in there too. Hey, I saw Lashana has your hand up. I'm sorry. Was it from before, or did we already answer that? Or what's the question? I saw it and then I totally got off track.
Oh, my question was, can we use spicy mustard?
Yeah, you could go for spicy mustard. Yeah, add a little zing to it. Mustard will add that emulsion factor, and so you'll be good to go. Let's see what else. So a few other notes, really important, that students have had questions about in the past. I want to make sure we nip all of those in the butt. All right, so wine vinegar. What is wine vinegar? LaShawna, do you know?
Yes, red wine vinegar, and white wine vinegar. Which one do you prefer? Because I have both.
Either one. Honestly, you're going to get a slightly different color profile if you use a red wine vinegar versus a white wine. Either of them will do. Have some fun. Whatever flavor profile you like. There's also champagne wine vinegar. Basically, a wine vinegar is different in the sense that it's a bit more mellow. It's not as acidic or acrid as other vinegars. All right. So that's what a wine vinegar is. Anything goes. What about this other word on an ingredient on this list? What's salad oil? Does anybody know what salad oil is?
Vegetable oil.
Vegetable oils, no flavor, bland, neutral.
It's a blend.
It's a neutral, yeah, neutral oil, okay? Could be a mix, could be corn, could be like mazola oil, right? A vegetable oil. Sometimes peanut oil is even classified as a salad oil. I think it is a bit more aggressive and full flavored, but it is. So salad oil is a bit more neutral than an olive oil. What do we know about olive oil when we make olive oil vinaigrettes and use olive oil as our main component as making a vinaigrette? What can happen?
The flavor can change.
Flavor can change. Yeah, it can become extremely bitter. Right? Olive oil can become bitter. Can make not the best finished product for a vinaigrette when you want that vinegar and mustard to be shining through. It can become overpowering. You can make a blend. That would also work, Jeff, Mike, anything? I saw you getting a little excited. Did you have any comments? Do you want to talk about salad oil or something? Or vinegar? No?
I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Doing great.
All right. Sounds good. So, will avocado oil pass for salad oil?
Avocado oil is that's a high heat oil.
Yeah, it's a
People
high heat
cook-
oil.
People cook with, like flaxseed and avocado oil.
I would say, last time I had avocado oil, it's fairly neutral. What I'm going to send out to you all, I think I already sent out that smoking point thing. I know I did that, but here is just a visual on. I'll just send it instead of wasting time looking this up. Just a guideline to salad oils. Basically, you're looking for a neutral flavored oil. Okay.
In our previous class, they showed us how to make a vinaigrette and a salad oil using grapeseed oil mixed with olive oil to make your salad oil. And then you emulsify it with whatever you're going to do to make your vinaigrette.
You can make a mixture of grapeseed and olive oil if you want. Yeah, you can do that. You just don't want to use full-on olive oil dependent upon what type of olive oil you're using, because you'll get these bitter notes and it really overpowers the other ingredients, right? And that's the point of it. It's when you see like olive oil in a vinaigrette, especially in a bottle that you're buying in the store, almost never is it going to be like 100% olive oil. And if it is, it's going to be a really mild olive oil. Not going to have an aggressive flavor. Okay. Class. Does anybody have any questions regarding this week's assignment? I think I went over it pretty in depth. That people should be good, feeling solid, I think. And if you have questions, reach out, all right? A few other things to note. Keep kicking butt. All right. I'm seeing you guys are getting, some people are getting better and better about submitting earlier, right? We are going to start cranking it up, right? This is another really kind of like not super intense assignment. You've already been familiar with making a vinaigrette. You can do a little baking. It's cold salad, right? Again, a nice refreshing meal for the summertime, which should be good. But again, we are going to start ramping it up. Next week, we're going to do an end poppy load. Then we move into, what's week 6? I'm blanking right now. But we have confit, we have pate, crackers. These are going to be multiple day stages that you need to be producing, right? So thinking ahead, preparing ahead. Let's see what else. I think that's about it. But I've already seen, by the way, I wanted to let you all know this, from week 1 to just week 3, I've seen improvements on plating, which is extremely impressive. So keep pushing yourself, all right? Keep using attention to detail, all right, as your guide, as your friend. If you have questions, reach out. Robert, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I didn't see a requirement for the plant photo. Do you still want one of those this week?
This week you're clear. I mean, you can always, you're
Okay.
more than happy to add it in, but not required. It's 1, 3, 6, 9, 12. And if something dies, as we've mentioned, if something dies, start a new one. From a scrap. You don't have to go out and try seeds again. All right. LaShawna, are you covered or is that hand from earlier? You good? All right, cool. All right, class. Have fun with this assignment. Start thinking about, you know, in the future, ways to put your own twist on this. All right, and what a moneymaker it can be. Okay. All right. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Keep kicking butt. Keep submitting awesome work. Keep working on your knife skills. And read up a little bit about sustainability and cover crops. We're going to be diving deeper into the sustainability world in regards to packaging. So start thinking about this now, all right? I want you all to start thinking about resources that we use in the restaurant industry. Next week, we're going to be hitting it hard, all right? Start thinking about it now. I'm giving you a little inside info. Start thinking about it from front of the house to back of the house. Resources, all right? Tara, I see your hand up.
Do we have to use olives?
If you are not going to eat it because you're putting olives in it, and nobody, then
Oh,
omit.
nobody's gonna eat the bean salad anyway, so.
Well, then you might as well put the olives in. I mean,
Okay.
you have a friend or anybody that you can give it to after eating it?
Asked my neighbor and they don't even like bean salad.
Well, maybe you'll have a change of mind when you try it and you see that it's actually delicious.
All right, so then I'll keep the olives out.
Okay, sounds good. Just anytime you make submissions or changes, put it in your narrative, all right?
All right.
Perfect. So class, enjoy it. And like I said, just keep kicking butt and reaching out with questions, all right? Thank you, Chef Mike, for joining us. Remember, he is your guy to hit up if you have questions. If you're having questions and needing help with tutoring, Chef Mike, all right?
How you doing? If you need any help, I can help you. I'm also assigned, soon I'm gonna be starting like a group where everybody can join. If you're having issues, I can show you some study techniques or, time management. So I'll be more than happy to help anyone if you're having any kind of time management issues. I can, because we all been there. I had plenty of time management issues, and I can help. Okie dokies.
Much appreciated. Thank you,
You.
Chef.
You're welcome.
Take care, everybody. Bye. Tara, go get them. Everybody else who's been mentioning time management as well. So a lot of you guys are talking about it on your narrative. All right. So check out Chef Mike. All right. Talk to y'all later. Keep up the fantastic work. Take care, everybody. Bye.